Hello, everyone. We are back again with a new episode from this series Mentalverse. This is the episode number 4, and we are going to talk about the tilt in the esports. Today, I'm here with Nadim and me, Cristina. So I hope that you like this new episode. Now I'm going to move to Spanish. Así que muy buenas a todas y a todos. Hoy volvemos con un nuevo episodio de la serie de Mentalverse. Este es el número 4 y hoy hablaremos sobre el famoso tilt dentro del sector de los esports. Así que quédense si les gusta este tema porque vamos a comenzar.
Well, that makes sense to me. I won't be talking in Spanish, just an FYI, but here we go. Now, to begin with, the tilt. Now, where does it come from? The original meaning of tilt is to cause to lean, to tip, or slope. But apparently, the gaming meaning is completely different. Now, it basically means to lose yourself, basically lose control, lose your focus, becomes agitated by the smallest of things, and not being able to concentrate anymore. But the tilt story, however, begins with pinball machines. Everybody knows what pinballs are. And apparently, back in the days, people used to cheat with the pinball machine by tilting the machine in order to get the ball into specific holes to rack up the high score. I mean, everybody wants to brag about their high scores. No cheats included, of course. But apparently, the game designers decided, time to put a sneaky anti-cheat system, which is apparently called the freeze or tilt. Apparently, when the machine senses any shake or any, movement, the machine goes into a freeze mode, or it shows the word freeze in front, and the entire machine tilts. And basically the flippers just stand still, no longer able to move, and then the player will just watch the ball goes into the 0 point and they lose. Quite the torturous way to lose a game, but at least it's a way to, keep it fair. Of course, it could be said the same thing about getting frustrated. If you smash the machine, it still goes into tilt. It's basically telling you to behave. Now, of course, that goes into a different form in different games. Tilt does exist in games like chess, believe it or not, when the player gets frustrated by situations, whether it is intentional or not, sounds, noise, the opponent doing something sneaky. It happens. Now, of course, that also could be said in games like poker, which is interesting because in poker, there are two meanings to it. It's either tilt or steam. And that goes into the getting annoyed aspect, which is sometimes when a player is playing and the opponent is so fixated on winning the game and you intentionally take up your time, you wait, and then you call or you fold or you intentionally play in a specific way to agitate your adversary, which causes them to tilt, and it turns from a focused game to a somewhat gambly kind of game in order to, win and all that, but you're no longer able to focus. Now, that is kind of what we call a sneaky tactic, which is, of course, somewhat unsportsmanlike, depending who you ask, but to each their own, I suppose. Cristina, all yours.
Okay, I think I could say that people think that tilt is like a new concept, no? But as you say, it's something that comes from the past. But maybe we don't call it tilt, no? But it's already that. And also we could say that there is a difference between tilt and rage, right?
Absolutely.
The tilt is when we start to show the negative emotions, okay? Or maybe our frustration. But the rage is the ultimate negative emotion when a person's become completely out of control. They start to make verbal abuse, no? Or maybe to destructive to those people that is around them. So I think we should try always to difference between tilt, and rage. And also there are other different types of concepts, and you can say one of them if you want. That is called the bad, right?
Well, if we're gonna look at it this way, they all fall into the category of toxicity. When we say, tilting, it feels more like a calm frustration, while rage feels like an uncontrollable amount of rage. And it becomes more violent. Tilt, you don't see someone being verbally aggressive when you're tilt. It just becomes self-frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
But when, in all cases, they're all bad, depending who you ask, of course. Now, the bad aspects of tilt, of course, in anything, in both the casual concept and the competitive concept, uh, it's actually very negative because when we tilt, here's something. When you see somebody else tilt, apparently it's entertaining because, like, wow, they're doing that. You're shocked to see the frustration and all that. But it always looks different when it's on you as a person. When you're tilting in a game, it becomes problematic. You lose focus, you lose concentration, you become agitated, you get annoyed. Even, and here's something, the smallest of things might actually trigger you from then on. I mean, before, when you're just playing the game, relax, nothing can get to you. But apparently, when you're in this tilt phase, you just get annoyed by the smallest of things, even ridiculous things, as when you're playing in a shooter game and you miss a snipe shot, you just get annoyed for no reason. While in your calm state, you're just like, okay, you missed a shot? Okay, big deal, I'm gonna try again. And that's the bizarre thing about it all. But if you think that's weird, look at it from the positive side, and it's not on the self, it's on the opponent. Because in the end, when you're playing games that are competitive, it's not just about skills, it's about psychology. And it's all psychological warfare. So if you know your enemy tilts by specific things and you're trying to use that and capitalize on that thing, tilt becomes a good thing because you're using it. Now, of course, that's saying depending who you ask, because to some people that's unsportsmanlike because you're, using a sneaky, shady kind of technique to win the game. But if
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of wrong, they would have banned it before, but apparently it's still allowed. Now, the technique goes as follows. An example, for example. Let's say uh, in FPS games, you go 5 versus 1. Of course, you intentionally do these emotes thing and sound effects things when you kill the person, and the person who gets killed is like watching it and gets annoyed. So when he or she respawns back in the game, they're already in a state of annoyance. So there is a percentage of not playing as better as they used to when they're calm. So you're capitalizing on that tilt. In games like Dota, for instance, I've seen people use this sneaky technique. 5-man ganking mid from the start of the game. They kill the person and they start, spamming voices, sounds, and annoying. And then they repeat the process over and over. So the enemy mid laner becomes so agitated and tilted, they're not
Yeah.
able to produce top performance, which is bizarre. And that's how
Then
you capitalize on it.
we could see the mental out, no? As we call here.
Oh, well, yeah, we can call it
Our
mental health,
enemy
but
is mental out.
wow. The enemy's mental, deteriorating the enemy's mental health, destroying it.
Yeah.
Weird.
So yeah, I mean this could be the good part, no? About to try to tilt in your enemy.
Like I said, it depends who you ask. That's the thing. It's to some people they find it as a negative thing because it's unsportsmanlike. It's not good. But if you ask other people, they'd be like, "Well, it's in the game. It's all fair game because if it's not allowed, it wouldn't be here." It's like OP characters. After patches,
Yeah.
a character becomes OP, yet people pick him. But if he's not supposed to be picked, why is he in the game in the first place? So it's not the player's fault.
Yeah. But I think it's a technique that maybe in competition are very used.
Hmm?
So it's going to continue, I think.
Exactly,
Because
psychological
it's not
warfare.
because yeah, that's sadly.
Hmm?
Because it's not something bad at all. So that's why people continue doing it.
Hmm?
And I think something normal in competition. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, it falls down to who you ask.
okay, now we can move about the healthy mind or maybe healthy victory, no?
Hmm?
Um, we could try to talk here about how players need to control themselves. And this is something that we have been talking in the last um, episodes, right?
Hmm?
It is interesting that players try to control themselves, try to control their emotions, try to know good strategies to control themselves. So if they try to develop healthy mind, they will have a healthy personality and maybe healthy actions, no, where they are in competition. So what do
Absolutely.
you think?
I think you 100% right because in the end it's about the performance. So if your mind is unbalanced in these situations because of emotional interventions, you won't be able to perform as top as you would expect. Now, the beauty about tilting is it's manageable. You can control it in comparison to rage. Tilting is still what we call the start negative feeling. It's not like rage, which is the ultimate negativity, which becomes completely uncontrollable. Tilt is much easier to adapt, to control yourself in that phase. Respiration techniques, relaxation, closing your eyes, controlling your heartbeat. It's all manageable, unlike rage, of course. So, yeah, it's not that difficult at all. And it helps you when you're in a competitive environment because, in some situations, you can't just, stand up and, walk away. No, you have to do it on point. So it's much easier to do it than you would say rage, which is, yeah, in the end, it's all about the healthy mind and how you can adapt, which of course falls into the category of emotional intelligence, as we spoke about it before.
And I also think that it's good that they work the solve problems, no?
Mhm.
Try to solve the different problems or the different moments that maybe they can have in while they are in a competition in a tournament. So I think they are trying to develop this. They could try to correct any of the mistake that they are doing, no? So I think this is important too, and not only for the players, also the coach need to help them or guide them about how to solve the problems. So I think this is another good situation. Um, Moment about to talk about this too, because if they are not able to solve the problems or any mistake that they are doing, probably they get tilt and they can lose the game. And
True.
this is something, yeah, and this is something that we work. For instance, when our players are playing Valorant, there is a moment that they can take some seconds during the game and they start to talk about the mistake that they are doing and about different strategies or how to change the game. And sometimes this work very well, but there are teams that they don't do this and they finally lose the game because they don't take that time to think a bit.
Problem is they're not pinpointing the problem. Like you said, they used respawn time or the death time in order to have these few seconds into to be able to control. Now we've noticed games in Dota or Valorant where as the game progresses, the respawn time increases, which gives the players room to control because the more progressive the game gets, the more intense it becomes. And people are at that point, in the 50-minute mark, people are more susceptible to getting annoyed because, one mistake could destroy the entire game. So people need these long hours of respawn in order to, calm themselves or capitalize on what's been happening. Now, to be able to pinpoint the tilt, you have to know what causes you to be frustrated or irritated. Now, in a casual environment, every one of us tilt, let's be frank. All gamers tilt, everybody gets annoyed, but it's how you control it. And in casual scenario, for instance, when you're playing a game repetitively, you're trying to rank up, and you get trolled or feeders or ragers or toxic players. Let's say you've lost 7 times because of that mistake. It's normal to people to become frustrated because, we as human beings are competitive creatures by nature. We love to win. Nobody loves to lose. We all enjoy the victory aspect. To accept defeat is understandable, but when you lose because of, other elements, external elements, when it's repetitive, it becomes really annoying. Now, the technique is usually, change games. We're talking on a casual level, of course. Play game to recontrol yourself, just to feel relaxed or, breathe, walk, or so forth. Now, in the competitive aspect, as you said, there's this cooldown aspect, the respawn aspect. People have to do these techniques on point, just, communicate with his teammates. His teammates have to be the supportive elements. The coaches have to be the backbone of it all. And they have to be able to pinpoint what causes them to tilt or what causes them to rage. Now, of course, as we said, enemy teams might capitalize on what causes you to tilt. Of course, you could use it against them and they will use it against you. So you have to be mentally prepared. And it will happen. You will tilt. And the question is, how will you control it? And once you control it, the game begins more about the skill aspect because you're in a very control stance. And it becomes much easier, and the team would be able to communicate, bring better results. And of course, when you're in a positive mood, you'll get a positive result, and hopefully a victory will come.
Yes, exactly. And also, I would like to say, in this case, in Valorant, I mean, I'm just talking about my team, okay? We tried that the shoot color, try to have the healthy mind because it's going to be the one that is going to guide the team and sometimes work really, really well. So it is important that players, maybe not all, because it's very difficult that everyone has a healthy mind, but the shoot color, maybe the leader should have it, should has it.
Yeah.
No. So it's really important. I mean, for
And
my
I,
perspective, yes.
actually, it is because you need the positive voice.
Yeah.
If the environment is negative, your tilt will become rage, no doubt about it.
Yes.
But if you're tilty and your teammate starts to calm you down, he's like motivating you, trying to push you to feel relaxed, just to get your head back in the game, your tilt will just vanish and you'll feel ready for it. From my experience, because when you play games that are heavy toxic and all that, when you're solo playing, you tend to deal with a lot of toxicity and a lot of annoyance. So, in my experience, when I'm playing games like Dota, and I've solo queued in for what 5-6 years, I've played these games by myself. The method of repetition, how to be able to control your frustration and irritation, acceptance. My strategy is to accept that you will lose. You will lose from time to time. You will deal with bad moments, bad players. You will lose winning games. It's normal. When you become more accepting to these situations, the negative situations will no longer reflect on you. You will be more in control. You're like, I accept defeat. Okay, this game is lost. I'll still try to win. If I lose, it happens. As my friend would say, it is what it is. And then when you start a new game, you reset your mindset and you play the game as though it's the starting point.
Okay, and about practicing this good strategy that we have been talking about during last episodes and also in this episode, like proper communication, like breathing exercise, like self-reflection, like compassion, like try to manage the our own emotions. This practice makes perfect, no?
Yeah.
Nadim?
It's what we say. There is no one strategy for all.
Hmm.
There are many strategies that are for everyone. Everyone chooses the more suitable for them. Some people be like, okay, I don't feel like walking will calm me down. I feel like reading a book might calm me down. Other people will be like, okay, if I'm going to do this, it might not help. Some people would go to the concept of meditation, this positive, negative energy thing. Other people will choose sports. They go to the gym. They use physical exercises in order to maintain their positive vibes. Other people will read a book, or somebody will go cook a meal and eat it to feel relaxed. There is no one strategy. That's the beauty about the solution in these issues. For tilt or rage, well, tilt is much easier. For the tilt aspect, there is so many solutions, and you get to choose which one you are more comfortable with, and you can experiment which one suits you best and which one brings you the best results.
So the most important thing we could say that we should never enter a game tilt or in another
Unless you want to lose, so then
moment.
join a game, tilt as much as you want, and hopefully you'll rage and you'll smash keyboards. Well done.
So we could say that we should be anti-tilt, no, as a way of life.
Mm-hmm. Anti-tilt. It's like an antivirus, only not.
Okay, okay. So yeah, I could say that players, maybe coaches, maybe the staff, or people that it's outside of the video games,
Mm-hmm.
no area, should try to don't be tilt or just try to control that emotion
Yeah.
try to be less destructive
Yeah.
or maybe
I
try
mean,
to don't use the
nobody
rage.
wants. Let's look at it this way: tilting, both in video games and in real life, can be a distraction. So nobody wants to be in that phase. Even so, raging. I mean, my lord, imagine you're in a workplace and you reach the point of rage. We've seen videos of people smashing their machines or printers or whatnot during work hours, and you get terrified by that image. You're like, my lord, terrifying. No, thank you. And I mean, I can sympathize. I'm not judging. I can be sympathetic because, some people have bad days and sometimes people snap. Everybody has what we call a boiling point. It's understandable. But it's terrifying to see yourself doing something like that because people are different, as we've already established, and the boiling point between one person and the other is different. Some people, it takes so much time before they snap, and they control themselves before they reach that point. Other people just, they swallow it up one after another until they reach the point where there's no way to control themselves. They just go frenzy crazy. And this is it. This is what we have to understand, that tilt exists in all aspects in life, be it, the casual moments, be it the competitive moments. And you have to realize that these things can cause such negative situations that it would turn a positive moment into a negative moment if you do not control yourself. If you control yourself, you get better results. And that's what we call having a high emotional intelligence, knowing yourself, emotional maintenance and emotional reconstruction, you could say. The better you control yourself, the easier the situation becomes and the more focused you be. Because if you're not focused, the situation crumbles all over it, no matter how easy it is.
And don't forget to stay positive the whole time.
Easier said than done, but positive. Keep hanging.
Yes. So I think I could say that this could be the end, no?
Yeah.
This episode. I'll be talking about everything about tilt and how we can control ourselves. This is something that players or maybe people that inside of the video games world, no, should try to control. And I hope that you really like what we say in this episode. So we hope that you use our or strategies
Use it in your
that
life.
we have.
It will help you.
Yeah. So well, if you want to finish with this episode, Nadine,
All right.
can.
To conclude this, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to say that to tilt is normal. Everybody tilts. You have to accept that reality. But the question is, what will you do after? Always look at the solutions. Understand that we all tilt because we're all humans, we all get frustrated and annoyed. But the question is, what happens after? Once you know the techniques, what causes you to tilt, and how you can control it, life becomes much easier. Not just in video games, but in real life. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call the conclusion. I hope you found this educational and entertaining. I'm sure we did, of course. And that concludes this video. I am your host, Nadim, and of course, we got the lovely Cristina signing off.
Bye bye.